I thought we could call the video Lisa Vanderpump versus the women.
Ooh, I love it.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm five?
All right, so I've called you here today to talk about Lisa Vanderpump versus the women.
Guilty.
So definitely the main issue, in my opinion, has always been Lisa's very archaic view on gender, something that's she somehow exempts herself from. Unlike Sheena, who is like a very much a male sympathizer, but like secretly hates herself. I won't go off topic, but Lisa is very much like exempt from whatever she thinks about gender norms.
Because Lisa very much embodies I'm not like other girls. That's Lisa. She's like a feminist in that she's not like other women who suck. She doesn't.
Yeah.
That's
I think she I think she almost sees herself like as like what is it called? Like omniscient. Oh, I don't know the word. I can't pronounce that word. But just like above that, like she's above that drama. She's not part of that group that she's judging.
yeah,
Um, so and she's always like one thing that like the hypocrisy is that she always sees herself as this I am the voice of reason. I am the last, like, moral, sound. I everything I say about the topic is like you all wouldn't understand how right I am. And I'm also like the girl boss, and she does not give the same respect to the women of her show. And I understand, like, she always acts like, oh, she's the mother figure, she's older, so she's wiser. But these women are in their 40s, like they're or very close to,
very
like,
close.
you can stop being condescending to them.
Yeah.
And I don't watch the what is it called, the the or what's it called, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I
wait,
always get stuck.
it took you that long to come up with the name of the Real Housewives. Oh my God. And we're a Bravo
I'm like,
show.
well, that Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it took me so
I
long.
will I will actually say this about my relationship with Lisa as a fan.
Yes.
On Beverly Hill, the reason that I was such a stan during VPR and I would excuse a lot of behavior that I actually did not like up until this point, no longer excusing her, is because the way she came across in the Housewives is in my opinion, totally different. I very much like the way she came off in the Housewives, in the role she played in the Housewives. Coming into VPR, this like condescension. At first, it was like, okay, these kids are stupid and they're making really terrible choices. But when you take Jax out of the equation, you take Kristen out of the equation, and then you're like, it's Ariana and it's like Katie and it's like these grown people that actually have been acting like grown people, and she is still being like incredibly condescending, incredibly like what is it, like higher than thou. It's like not working. And then what really puts it over the edge is when you compare her behavior towards men who are behaving badly and who should be getting this condescension, this like accountability. And she's just like there was a meme about it and I can't get it out of my head because it's so true, but it's like she's breastfeeding these men and it's like, what are you doing? It's gross, it's picky.
So yeah, you can absolutely say a lot more about the Real Housewives than me. I have seen a few seasons, but only like through just watching you watch it. So I understand how it worked out with them because they're all her contemporaries.
Mm.
They're all the same age, and those women do act so outside of reality that you have someone that Lisa that also, like, granted, she has very archaic views, but they're grounded within reason. So it kind of just gives you like a different perspective of where she's coming. But when she applies those same sort of like moral high ground bullshit to these young adults that are not even that, they weren't even that young when they started, to be honest. And it just looks bad. Yeah. And then you compare it, it looks bad. And you can say more about this than I, but it kind of like her attitude kind of reflects on her children, like the way their children was raised, right? Because I know Pandora, what's the age difference between Pandora and Max? Not
No,
that much.
no.
But Pandora already had her whole thing going, and she definitely piggybacked off her parents' success. I'm not saying she's not a little nepo baby, but she had her own line of wine going. She had her own business going. She was a lot more detached from the show, and Max had a little bit of a failure to lounge kind of situation.
No, but I will say this, like, they like would leave him out in the cold. Like they literally cut him off. So he was living off of like boss boy paychecks. So these are like boots on the ground stories of like he literally like would get his power cut off. Cause like like his mom apparently like refused to like pay for anything unless he was like being sorry
Yeah,
that but unless he was being like responsible for more than like busboying and he was like refusing to, he was just like, I'm a busboy.
I agree. I do remember that.
That
But
kind of bothered me. I'll be
from
honest,
my
that kind of
perspective,
bothered me.
I fully believe that he was given the same opportunities as Pandora, and
Yes.
he decided to be a busboy,
Yes. Yeah, that's
right?
the vibe. That's
Like
the vibe.
the lack of like initiative may have resulted from the way that, or the expectations between like men and women that they had. It could, like, that's just,
Very well could, yeah.
and I wouldn't make these assumptions if I hadn't seen the way that she treats the Toms versus Ariana and Katie, which is what I want to talk about. You know, so yeah, like I can see both ways. I'm definitely just like drawing a lot of conclusions with their children, but it's just based on how long they were on the
Well,
show and stuff.
since we're making like wild conclusions about her children, can I
No,
say
and they were on the show, so we
I
did
know,
see a
but
little bit about it.
I'll add one thing about that I'm it's like a
Okay.
theory I've had, not theory I've had, but like my 2 cents that I've been thinking about. And it's kind of like a little controversial just because it's bringing in like drama that she definitely doesn't want out there. Is her son-in-law. Let's talk about her son-in-law for 5 seconds here.
Yeah.
Like after Pandora, or even I think before Pandora got married to this guy, Jason, I think, I don't remember his name, but whatever his face is, Pandora's husband. They gave him a lot of responsibility with the business, like big boy roles. And it's like, okay, maybe I don't know his background. Maybe he like he was like a waiter for them. That's how he met Pandora. Not saying
Yeah.
think he did have a background of like was in business school or some shit like that, but it just came out not too long ago and it died down so quick. But there are allegations of Jason or Pandora's husband, allegedly. There are allegations of him
Yeah.
being inappropriate behavior. Okay,
Yeah.
in the workplace. So it's like, who are you giving these positions just because he's Pandora's husband? Like, give Pandora that position. Like, he
Yeah.
stay at home dad. Why do you need to be like it's not even like Pandora's your Nepo baby. That's a little more understandable. Honestly, if I had children and I had the money, I would hella have Nepo babies. But
Yeah.
it's the fact that you're like giving these men these positions. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, she's picking the men over the women that are more qualified, and really just because they're women, you're not, it feels like it's just because they're women, you're not giving them these opportunities. And it kind of reflects on and it ties back to what I wanted to talk about, Katie and Ariana, and just the way she treats the women. Why did she go for the Toms instead of Katie and Ariana? Like, okay, let's acknowledge that, yeah, they do bring the business because they're like a funny little pair, or whatever. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that's
yeah.
your
That's
shtick,
100%.
like I get the shtick of like, okay, maybe the Toms would bring in business because it's like their little number and the name Tom Tom is cute, I guess. But I don't believe that she doesn't have a whole team that would have made Ariana and Katie name work. Like I don't believe that that's a good reason to partner up with people, especially because if you just wanted the draw of the reality, you could have had Tom, Jax, and Tom and have like a three amigo type of thing. I do think I thought it then, and I think it more now that Jax brings in more people than Tom and Tom, because as unreliable as Jax is, and as liable as Jax is, he is a personality, and he like we've had our love fest for Jax, even though he's a problematic person. We've already had our love fest for Jax, but we just have to acknowledge that he is like a TV personality and he knows what he's doing. And I do think to bring people in, Jax would have been like more sensible than either Tom, even before the scandal or whatever. It made more sense. And Tom was probably the only one that said the Jax was the only one that said it at the time. Was like it would make more sense if she brought me in than them. So
And I think at the end of the day, it does boil down to these microaggression, or it does boil down to what you said, which the question is, why Tom and not Katie and Ariana? And
yeah.
if it wasn't for that big question, all these microaggressions would just be like, oh, well, okay, well, that happened, this happened. But because of that question, it's like, why not Katie and Ariana? All the investments, like your energy, not just the money of like the bar, but like your name, your energy and affection and all this investment to them, then it brings into question all these other little things that she's done and said and like her behavior. But it's like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like there is no reason why she is so adamantly not backing Katie and Ariana, because something has always stood out to me is I've seen multiple interviews of her being adamantly, or clips of her being like, not just like, oh no, I don't like, I'm not an investor in something about her, being like gung-ho, like, I want to make something really clear. I have no investment in something about her. And it's like, please, lady, chill out, because that actually makes you look bad.
Well, the fact that
Like,
you
why
do
not?
see you do see some of the process, not enough of the process. I think the show should focus more on something about her. I think that's more interesting than whatever Tom and Tom are doing. But you do see a lot of the process, even from the time that they started talking about it, and not once did Lisa offer advice. She adamantly said, like, I'm not gonna invest, I'm not anything in it. But she didn't even sit them down to offer them advice. You
Consulting.
never see.
Do some pro bono consulting for your girls.
Absolutely. You just don't see the support there that she claims to have, or half of what she showed the guys. And yeah, you're right. I have seen a lot of clips where she's like, I have nothing to do with that. That
Yeah.
female mess is all them. Like it really feels like girls will be girls, let them be crazy over there. Let them have their little hobby over there. And it does undermine like the type of thing that they're doing, especially because like Ariana and Katie, they're going at it with like, where is it, Chef P or something like that? They're going.
No, she's shady though.
She's shady, but she has the experience. But she's not like the same type of investor that Lisa is, with the experience, all the experience of our experience, or the people that Schwartz and Sandy have that are like restaurant investors. So like the Toms have like a more professional, but like not professional, but with people with more experience on their team. They're really just lending their face, and something about her is definitely looks like it's driven mostly Katie and Ariana, and not by the investors that are like behind the invisible curtain, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like for the Tom thing is like, obviously they're all a lot more a face than an actual, like, this is my project versus the Katie and Ariana thing for
Oh
sure.
yeah, and we've seen that they have no input and they don't work at it either one of the bars, apparently. So
And the Lisa is very much like not outwardly, but in her head, she's like, something about her. Why not something about him? I feel like that's kind of like not equal opportunity. Like I can totally see her being like, I don't know, but what about the guys that want sandwiches? Like, I'm
what
not
about equality, ladies?
yeah, it's like men want sandwiches too, okay? It's like,
Have you ever heard of the man witch?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's just yeah, the type of like support that the men have received is just ridiculous. And the fact that she's like outwardly saying like, oh, I have nothing to do with this sandwich shop is like, that's not a badge of honor, sweetheart. Get off your high horse. Yeah.
Yes. It's
And
not
that's the thing. Oh, okay. Why not Katie and Ariana? Because they worked with Lisa as much as Sandoval. Katie and Sandoval started working with Lisa the same year, the same exact year. And then Ariana came in just 1 year later. That's nothing when you see how long they've been working with her when she offered the opportunity to the Toms, right? Like 1 year is nothing when it's been years and years and years. And she always spoke about how reliable they were,
yes.
especially Katie, how loyal they were. So to turn around and offer it to these bums who, like Sandoval had brought so much drama. Like, granted, he was better bartender than Jax, but he brought so much drama. He wasn't as reliable. And then Tom, who couldn't even hold a catering position for like one shift. And she turns around, she says all these things about these women, and then slap in the face, let me offer it to their man.
Yes.
And I remember the scene where she says, I'm offering this position to Schwartz to step up because he's married to Katie, and I want them to have a successful future. And I'm just like, the minute I heard that, I'm like, why didn't you just offer it to Katie so she has a successful future?
Even it's like, even if she wants them as a couple to have a successful future, why not offer it to Katie so she can have a successful future? Katie's the one with the experience, even as a generational owner of business of like restaurants. Her mom ran one. She's always her whole life worked in that industry, and Schwartz could not cover one shift. Schwartz
she definitely
could not cover.
Oh yeah.
Let me like really let.
But it wasn't even a bartending shift.
Yeah,
it was a catering. The drinks are made. You're just walking around with a tray. I'm not dismissing the job, but it's not the same as owning a business, running a bar, running a kitchen. Being a server, it's not the same.
It's different. Like you as a person, like had a panic attack at your bartending job, then he knows the owner, and he knows all the people that work there, and they love him. The owner is
and all the people that were there.
The owner is giving, and he knows the people that were the guests, and they love him. And the owner is giving him this opportunity. Obviously, favors him. It is like quick gig, like, and he could not do it, and he got a bar out of this.
No, and he didn't even tell anyone. He's like, "Hey, I'm struggling. I'm leaving." He's just like walked out.
Yeah.
He didn't have a panic attack. One, I think he's just lazy, but and he's been to parties. He's not someone that reacts like that in like these types of situations because he's been in these types of situations. But let's say it was like a mental health issue, which I don't believe at all. But since you brought it up, if you're struggling with that kind of thing, like get some help, and let's not offer them the job of owner and face that has to sit at the bar and interact with people to bring in business. That's you're not qualified at that point.
But it's the part that he loves is going to the bar and just like shooting the shit. So it's like, what is happening? What is happening? I don't care. Actually, go fix it. Why is he getting the job of like being an investor in his own bar versus
Yeah.
like the excuse that LVP used about like setting up their future via a stupid man is misogynistic on its own. You're not like helping out this woman that has like been loyal to your business for over a decade. And not only that is you're not being supportive when she herself is looking to build her own business without your help. So you're not even supportive emotionally or otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfectly said. And I'd like to add, she could have still had the Tom's onboarding, and she could have still named it Tom Tom, and she could have offered the ladies an investment opportunity where they're like just silent partners, but they're getting their future in and they're learning the business, and they can contribute monetarily to this investment, the same way that these guys were given like an easy pass on their investment, because like their investment was like peanuts, right? So the same it's not even like, oh, these women should have had this and not these men. She could have offered the opportunity to all four, and she didn't. And I think it's because she hates women. I think because she's like a very anti-feminist. And you know what? That might be why her and Sheena get along.
They see eye to
Because they
eye.
have very similar views on guys.
It's the two kinds of pick-me's. There's two
Yeah.
kinds of pick-me's, and it's them.
But it's just so bizarre that she's doing this with the women, the Ariana and Katie.
Yeah.
We can kind of allege or assume that she did that to Pandora, did that with Pandora's husband, where instead of giving the women a leg up, she's giving the opportunities to the men in their lives. But if anyone turns around and assumes she's a gold digger because her investor husband, who already had a name for himself, was already famous as an investor, had all these businesses, married someone significantly younger than him, and just calls her his wife, she will throw a tantrum because she will always like pledge that she's an equal part of the business. She's a girl boss. She's super involved. This is her empire. But I'm like, lady, you're just keeping the women in your life down by giving these opportunities to the men in their lives. And somehow it's an insult to assume the same about your situation.
Yeah, because here she is getting her start via an opportunity by a man, Ken, because like I said, you don't have to be business partners with the person you sleep with. That's something additional that Ken decided to give her the opportunity, which is great. Let's say she stepped forth and like did her part and triumphed because of her effort after he gave her the platform. And she like refuses to give that same help that she received to a woman because she's like
Yeah.
gatekeeping this girl boss thing, which makes her the ultimate girl boss.
Oh, I almost wonder if because that's kind of the way it happened for her. If her husband didn't have money and the opportunities to be a business owner, she wouldn't be a business owner either. So is she assuming that that's how these women in modern times have to start through their man? That is
Maybe like an Etsy business owner, but certainly, a few bars in WeHo.
But that's the thing. If she experienced that, like, hey, this opportunity wouldn't have been handed to me if it wasn't through my husband, instead of creating opportunities for these women, he's like, you know what, you're not gonna get anywhere without your husband. Let me give your husband the opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
Because like I said, she could have easily just said, hey, each of you get 2%, 2.5%, or each of you get 2%. Each of you for Katie, Ariana, and both Toms can have an opportunity to own a piece of the business, and I can teach all four of you the ropes, not just the guys.
Yeah. People now that this season it's becoming more apparent than ever than she does favor the guys you've been saying this for a while, but now that
I
it's,
hate her. I've never
I know,
liked her. I
but
wanted
now
to
that it's
be
becoming
extreme.
apparent to other people, one
Yeah.
argument point that I see a lot is like, oh, well, she probably is the one that has a lot to do with like the editing because, you have to think about like she has a lot invested in these men, but it's like she has chosen to
She decided.
invest in badly behaving men before this. They have been behaving badly. Badly
Yeah.
behaved men with no skill set and opted for like unqualified men over and over and over again. So now she gets that. She gets what she reaps what she sowed. She sowed like an empire on the images of men that are unredeemable.
Yeah, those are the choices she made, and she very much knew the liability of investing in men that have not behaved well.
Mm.
And yeah, now she's protecting her investment, but it's not an excuse and it's not a pass on her. We understand why she's doing it, but that doesn't mean I feel bad for her or think that she's any better for it. Yeah, absolutely. And like tying it back, I have heard a lot of like the reason that Schwartz and Sandoval have been portrayed in a more positive light than they deserve this season is because Vanderpump has made editorial decisions on what to include and not include in the season. I've heard that as rumors. I have no proof. I know like some podcasters are talking about it.
I believe it, even if
I
it's like
believe it because
on a
she's
high points, like let's say it's not as detailed as like her looking at the cuts and being like, edit this out. But even if it's as high view as being like, I'm a producer in this, I don't want you to include anywhere that has this, or this. And it goes because she's a producer.
yeah. Oh, I absolutely do believe that she is looking at the footage and saying, this is not airing. I do believe that she's in that. Yeah, absolutely. Because you look at, I haven't heard it from Bravo, but you hear it a lot from TLC that some of the families, like Sister Wives and the Duggards, they have final say of like, you're absolutely not airing that. And they're the reality stars,
Yeah.
So I do believe that versus like if you see those examples and look at Bravo, I do believe Lisa would have similar power of saying absolutely this is not airing.
Could be. I buy it.
Yeah, and
Allegedly.
then I mean, and tying it back to this season and just her continuous, she's still saying like I have nothing to do with something about her. But one thing that infuriated me, and maybe it's a clunky tie, but just looking at, because we talked about how Sheena and her get along so well, and how Lisa went to Sheena to ask her to be friends with Sandoval. just ridiculous. It was like your mommy is like searching for friends for you. But she's like, hey, be friends with Sandoval, reach out to him because he says that he was about to. So I'm like, one, I absolutely believe that he's throwing that around because he thinks very lightly of mental health. There are scenes in this season where he talks about how Ariana is so lazy, even though she has been very outspoken about going through depression. He's still bashing her for being lazy. Uh, he went to the Howie Mandel show to air how she was threatening to kill herself and how depressed she was, and made a light of it and used it as an excuse to cheat, which just doesn't make any sense. So one, I don't believe Sandoval was in this place because of how lightly he's spoken about mental health before. Um, but two, how are you going to Sheena to like beg her to be friends with Sandoval? But not once has she ever reached out to Ariana and been like,
Are
hey,
you
are you okay? And this season, why this season did she say, hey Sheena, please be friends with Sandoval? And she didn't say, hey Sheena, please be supportive of your friend Ariana, who has a very long history of mental health and was cheated on. Like,
Or why didn't she go to Sheena last season and say, hey, Sheena, can you please be cautious of Katie's feelings? Because I care a lot about Katie, and she's going through a world-shattering divorce from the person that she still loves.
Oh, absolutely. Then you don't see her sitting down with Gina and Lala and being like, "Hey, ladies, stop being
Wait,
bitter women."
yes,
And
you
stop
never.
bashing Katie and Ariana. But when Lala was bashing Sandoval, he's like, "Oh, you're turning into a bitter woman." Excuse me.
I'll even raise you up one more. She never went to Sheena seasons and seasons ago. And I know you're not a Stassi stan like I am, but in this case, she was right. She never went to Sheena and said, "Hey, Sheena, how about you don't share her revenge porn video with your colleagues?" You want to do that?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
want to maybe not put her in a state where she wants to herself. And can you maybe stop sharing her nudes that she didn't agree to be shared, her revenge? Sweetie, do you want to try that? She never did.
Oh, that would have
Oh.
been grounds for dismissal in any normal job. If you're sharing your
I
coworkers' nudes
if I was the owner of a business and my like worker was sharing revenge of another, I'd call the cops.
of anyone, of anyone. But yeah, that's so wrong for you to not even have a conversation about this. But Sandoval says that at one point he wanted to himself because he cheated and he created a toxic situation. I look, maybe he did want himself. I I'm sorry about that. I don't take that lightly. But to turn around and be like, guys, be nice to him because he's a horrible man and now it's himself. It's like maybe advise him to get some help, get real help, get off the show. You know, you can offer him to stay at Villa Rosa so that he can rest away from all
Away
the media
from Ariana.
and absolutely pull the plug on him being on the show because someone that wants to himself does not need to be in reality TV if she actually cared about anything. But she's just she's just has like the wrong pulse on everything. And it's detrimental to the women in her life.
That is, you hit the nail on the head. Let's say he truly did think of those thoughts. And let's say Lisa truly, from her heart, cares and is worried and scared. You not only tell him to get off the show, but what is causing this is this whole blow up of this relationship. Then get out of the house. You get out of, how about people start harping for him to get out of the house? And it's like,
Yeah.
this is causing you such grief that you want to do that to yourself. Get out of the house. Come into my house. You want to, you all like, not only will I place you in Villa Rosa at like for work, give you work outside of TV, but please get outside of TV, but also like, I have properties come in. If I love you a lot, I'm really worried about what's going on in your head and you're in that place, come move into one of my properties, into my guest house. Like,
That's Here's the thing though.
be fucking for real.
I think the reason that she didn't offer him that to get out of the house was because if it's kind of like a power game of like whoever gets out of the house loses most of the house, loses grounds in the house. So she wasn't gonna let her little favorite little angel lose his stand on the house. But she did offer Ariana to get out of the house, even though Ariana very publicly said, "No, I can't get out of the house because I would lose the house."
Legally, I can't get out of the house.
Legally, I'm following a lawyer's advice. So to me, like, yeah, because people can always look at it and say, like, oh, but she offered Ariana to come stay at her house. Yeah, but Ariana was very outspoken about having to follow legal advice. right?
If you love both, let's say you love both of them equally, offer both of them to come out of the house because, like, obviously there's a reason, like, they both want to stay in and it's not each other.
Yeah, why didn't you mediate between them
Yeah.
in like an unbiased way? But she's not. She's making all these little decisions that only benefit Sandoval and asking way too much of the women. Because even though Sheena and her get along, telling Sheena, hey, go be friends with Sandoval was absolutely not her place to ask of Sheena. I mean, I think Sheena was delighted about it, but it was just not it was just not her place to be like, hey Sheena, go be friends with my baby.
Because all she is at the end of the day, she's like, oh, maternal figure, like other like this and that. All she is at the end of the day is a girl boss producer, just like Olivia Wilde and all these other girl boss producers that are at the end of the day, like standing on the hill of like women's success, but like the hill is made up of the like women that they stepped over.
Well, I agree. Completely off topic, and just because I remembered you sharing that meme, you know what the comment that I remember that lives in my head is like Lisa constantly comparing herself to be the Tom Tom's mother, and then allowing Schwartz to make so many sexual innuendos and comments towards her.
Oh,
It
he
is just
loves it. Loves it.
disgusting.
Yeah. That validation is the reason she loves to have men around her, working like under her, around
Yeah.
her, is because she wants to,
She's a male sympathizer.
yeah,
She's
but
a
she
male
wants to be
sympathizer.
like that, like it girl. She's like, oh, the one girl in the room because I'm, I can get the work done, not like other girls. She's not like other girls. She's Lisa.
The main queen in the room.
Yeah, she's like, oh, she's like that girl.
All power and benevolent queen of the room. She's almost like, not to say this is Lady Gaga, but you know the Lady Gaga video of Alejandro. I feel like
Yes, I
she
know.
feels like she feels like her life is that music video.
Lisa Vanderpump feels like Lady Gaga in Alejandro. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, dude.
But yeah. All right. Well, I think this was a good venting session on fucking Lisa Vanderpump.
And these are the reasons why it's Lisa Vanderpump versus
Women. All right. All right. Have a good night.
you
Like,
too. Dream with
it's a
Lisa
wrap.
Vanderpump. Ooh.
Boom, roasted.
Like,
Subscribe.
For you to be sitting there bad-mouthing me, you f***ed it up. You really did. They're hollow words.
Boom, roasted.